Our next speaker is Ms. Suruchi Agarwal. Ms. Agarwal is working for UNDP as the National Coordinator for SDG Philanthropy Platform and Business and Human Rights. Her experience with social work has crossed a decade and has helped her work with the government at both the central and the state levels. She has also engaged in work with UNFPA and Ministry of Women and Child Development, Government of India. She was also the driving force behind the Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign. Her relentless work for social reform for women and children continues to propel her into the limelight. I now invite ma'am.
Thank you so much. At the outset, I would actually like to thank Dr. Arjuman Sethi, the National President for Youth for Human Rights, for inviting me to this prestigious forum on global peace and human rights. Distinguished Tyers, Mahenji has just left. Maulana Sahab, the father John Matthias, and our chief guest Dr. Velil Betraki. Ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends, it's indeed a pleasure to be here. Rather a pleasure and a privilege to be a part of a dais where we see all the three religions sitting together on a common platform. It's indeed a pleasure to be here. The theme actually, global peace and human rights in itself is very interesting. And human rights is something which lies at the heart of the 2030 Agenda of Sustainable Development Goals. The agenda itself envisages a world of universal respect for human rights and human dignity, rule of law, justice, equality, and non-discrimination, of respect for race, religion, cultural diversity, ethnicity, and of equal opportunities. It actually propagates a just, equitable, tolerant, open, and socially inclusive world in which the needs of the most vulnerable people are met. The Sustainable Development Goals are a broad universal set of 17 goals and 169 indicators to help organize and streamline the development actions for greater achievement of human well-being, while leaving no one behind. The basic factor behind the Sustainable Development Goals is, the basic premise of it is to leave no one behind. They are a part of transforming a world and were adopted unanimously by 193 member states. It's not something which only the United Nations is driving, it's something which has been unanimously agreed by 193 member states. And United Nations is actually a part of the entire journey where it is facilitating the implementation of Sustainable Development Goals and reaching out to all the 193 member states to implement Sustainable Development Goals in their own country and also as part of the entire world. The spectrum of 17 Sustainable Development Goals and 169 targets range from poverty eradication, human health and sanitation to urban settlements and safeguarding global ecosystems on which humanity depends for its survival. The journey of United Nations to work on human rights started in the last century, where Dr. Zedi rightly pointed out. Immediately after the Second World War, there was a dire need to have global peace and an intervention that may stop all the world wars that may be envisaged in the years to come. And accordingly, the Universal Declaration for Human Rights came into place. It was actually a milestone in the history of human rights, where member states pledged for peace, observance of human rights and fundamental freedom. Since then, since the year 1948 till today, myriad efforts have actually been taken place to conserve world peace. Another such historic moment had been actually in the year 2011 when Professor John Ruggie, who was the Assistant Secretary General to the United Nations, came up with the three-pronged framework of United Nations Guiding Principles. The United Nations Guiding Principles came after a rigorous exercise of 5 years by Professor Ruggie and his team, and they came out with a framework which is based on 3 pillars. The first one being the state's duty to protect human rights, the second one being the corporate responsibility to respect human rights, and the third and most important is the joint responsibility of both states as well as the government to provide access to remedy for victims of abuses. And these abuses can be in any form and of any nature. The Credit Suisse Global Wealth Report, which was released in the year 2017, showed that 0.7% of the global population owns over 45% of global wealth. So you can see this form of inequality that exists in globally. And the bottom 70% population owns only 2.7% of the wealth. And if we talk about in the Indian context, 92% of the population has a wealth of less than rupees 6.5 lakhs. So that's the kind of inequality that we face in globally as well as in our country. We are already consuming natural resources at a pace well beyond the Earth's capacity to renew. All of us must have heard about the Earth Overshoot Day, which is the day where the day when we consume all the natural resources that the Earth has. And it already has reached early August. Like every year it is calculated, and by early August we actually consume the entire year's resources. It is estimated that several key elements in the periodic table, and my young friends would actually understand the periodic table and its importance. So many key elements of the periodic table will no longer appear in nature by the turn of the century. That means many of the essential nutrients would actually deplete from our Mother Earth. And this experience, of course, is going to get worse with water scarcity, which is something which all Indians, individuals as well as companies are facing today. The impacts of climate change are well known, and they are documented and is a globally accepted reality. Unbreathable cities, water that cannot be drunk without extra purification, overflowing landfills and plastics everywhere. These are familiar sights in India and globally, and neither cities nor the rural areas have been left out of these problems. Businesses are the cause of some of these challenges, but are certainly also expected to be a part of the entire solution. Indian businesses have been encouraged to adopt the 5 P's of sustainable development, which is people, planet, prosperity, peace, and partnership. The guiding principles make clear that all companies everywhere have a responsibility to respect human rights, which means to avoid having negative impacts either in their own operations or through their value chains. UNDP is actually engaged in promoting the implementation of UN guiding principles on business and human rights, with focused efforts on advocacy, policy development, technological support, capacity building, awareness raising, innovation, regional peer learning, and South-South cooperation. The way forward is actually very clear, it's very transparent. We need more businesses to fully embrace the United Nations guiding principles on business and human rights, the practice of human right due diligence, and to learn from each other. When businesses work with the United Nations, the civil society, the government, and the relevant stakeholders, which are the community, they can actually level the playing field for all companies, help mitigate their own reputational, legal, and operational risks, and enhance their own brand. Most importantly, when businesses advance human rights in their operations and those of their supply chains, we can truly make progress on reduced inequalities, decent work, gender equality, and environmental stewardship. With that, I would like to congratulate Dr. Zaidi for organizing this forum on such an important theme. Together, the government, private sector, civil society, and citizens, we must deliver as one to ensure that we have a better planet for future generations. Thank you so much.